have you, Ashanti. I've spent some time with you today, and I want to say thank you. But first, before we start to talk about this wonderful business, let's just talk about the name. What's the name?
360 Mind, Body, and Soul.
Oh, so tell me, what was the origin behind 360 Mind, Body, and Spirit?
It's a full-on experience in the vein of fitness. Okay. So it is a fitness facility. We're Group X fitness gym. We do personal training as well. But I have an understanding from my own journey that you can't just lose weight by dieting and exercise. It's really the motivation, the behaviors that are either going to promote you to actually use a treadmill that you have at home, or go to your gym, or go to the grocery store and get the food that you need, meal prep it, or not.
Yeah.
And so we focus on more of that connection between what your mind is saying, what your body's doing, and then what your soul is promoting you, motivating you to really do, and putting it all together for a program that works.
Wow. So I like 360. We use that in terms of marketing. So I love to see how it works from a fitness, which I think is fantastic. And where are you located?
We're on 29th in Michigan in Chicago.
Nice. And that area would be considered
Bronzeville.
Bronzeville,
South Loop. Depends on
right, depending on who you talk to. Now, and you are from
Los Angeles, California.
So what made you move to Chicago?
Oh God.
we got a little time.
It's always that question. I fell in love when I was 22. Umpteen years ago. And that was a very special time in my life where I felt really disconnected from the world. I had just graduated from college. I had a 6-figure job working in accounting, and I had all the trappings of success, or what society would consider success, and I just wasn't happy. I would pull up every day at work, the classic story, and just cry before I got out. And so I met this wonderful man, and I decided to take a chance on it. And I always said I can always come back home. I'm young enough, I could start all over, come back home, but I'm gonna go and see what this is all about.
That's awesome.
And I ended up changing my life completely, getting into fitness. I've always worked out, but started something and it worked.
Wow. And you started first, your first location was in South Shore. So tell us about that, just launching there and then moving to Bronzeville.
Yeah, so I started on the lakefront at Hayes Beach, 63rd Street Beach.
Yes.
One summer, started paying my rent off of it and thinking I had something. And then the summer, of course, ended. We're in Chicago.
Yes.
So I had to find a space. I put it on Facebook. Does anybody know of a space I can sublease? And this address came back on 75th Street. And I hadn't been here that long at that point, but I was here long enough to know you're not supposed to be on 75th Street.
Yeah. That's true. That's
my
true.
clientele.
It's changing now, but you're right.
I'm not from here, but that's what I was told.
That's awesome.
And but I had enough courage to just go check it out. I didn't really have many options. And it was this beautiful art gallery, old art gallery, that had these huge 18-foot ceiling, white walls, open floor plan. It had a kitchen. It had everything that we needed. And so I just took a chance on it, and we made it work. And we did amazing things in that building for about 4 years.
Wow.
2 years ago in 2015, we moved over on Michigan.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful location where you are, because you have free parking.
Yes.
And so that's always good to know, because a lot of people, they're looking to find their right fitness place. It's like, where am I going to park? Oh my gosh, because that's another deterrent, right?
Absolutely.
That's another reason why people won't go. And so you've been in business now for what, 6, 7 years?
It'll be 7 years next
7
month.
years, wow. And so when I think about your business and I think about the stats, Nielsen put out a report this year in September, and it really talks about that 68% of Black women agree that they're content with their appearance. Mm-hmm. And so when I really think about that, that's because we really are investing in how we look, because we are in professional jobs where we have to care about those things. So when I think about that, that supports your business, because that tells people, hey, oh my gosh, I have to look a certain way. So just to give us a snapshot, what is the profile of many of the members that come through 360?
Yeah, so we're about 95% women-based.
Okay.
Anywhere from 29 to 50 is kind of our demographic. Professional women and entrepreneurs that are highly, generally stressed, but they have this esteem about them, that they definitely want to take care of their appearance. It's important to them for their career as well as to them personally. But they just don't have the mental capacity to do it on their own. They don't want to do it on their own. They have the resources. They have the full gym possibly in their building or in their basement, but they just don't want to do it because they're just taxed.
Yeah.
And so they come to us, and because we're group fitness based, we tell them everything to do. We tell them what size of the weight to grab, how many to do. Every time you come to us, you're working with a personal trainer, so it's really just easy.
Yeah.
And we make it fun as well. That's my job, to make it fun so that you want to come back.
And it is a lot of fun because I've experienced it myself. And it's just, one of the things that I will say about 360 that I love is that these are professional women that are on. And a lot of times you're on, but at that moment you can actually be off and no one's looking at you like you don't have that lipstick right. Oh girl, your hair ain't right. Like everybody's coming in their scarves.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's completely like it's
just all of that.
Yeah, which is amazing.
Originally when we started the boot camp, I intentionally didn't want to know what anybody did. I didn't want to even talk about that. This is our time to really just look at you as a person from the inside out and really work together.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you know that you're, on the left side is your alderman, you might change the way that you're engaging with the group for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Instead of just helping her lift her legs and get her butt down in that plank. Sometimes you have to tell her, like, girl, come on, keep going. Just put your butt down. Like,
yeah.
That changes things when you get into all those roles. Like you said, at the end of the day, it's a sisterhood, it's a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get there together. Our mantra is one team, one dream. We all have the same goal. There is no competition.
There's no competition.
I don't win if you don't win.
That's right.
If you don't win, you probably won't motivate me.
That's right.
So let's do this together.
Which is why this is important that I talk about, that I really want this show to get noticed, that there are some amazing women in Chicago that collectively that we can really build and shape what I truly believe could be history making.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe it could be history making. People will travel from all across this country or even outside of this country to visit some of these dynamic businesses with these remarkable women. And so let's talk about capital. Let's talk about that, because for what you've been able to accomplish. And so, when I think of Chicago, many people think of the downtown skyline, and the skyline is absolutely beautiful. I mean, when you land in Chicago, it's like, oh my gosh. But what it doesn't show us is the businesses that are south and north and west of downtown,
right,
and that they are thriving and that they are serving communities. And that's where real estate gets to grow, right? That's where people can buy properties and be able to know that I can walk and go to a place and get fitness. So let's talk about that capital, because in order for you to continue the work that you're doing, you need more money.
Yes.
And when I talk to women, they will tell me this day in and day out, that if I had more money, I can do this.
Yes.
But we also need customers. But if we get this money, we can go and put the money in to get these customers. So we asked this question originally is, what's your ask? What was your amount of money that you're looking for?
I'm looking for about $200,000.
Okay.
The dream, the plan is doable with $150,000, but realistically about $200,000.
Okay.
For a separate facility, we're looking for a second location.
Do you know that second location?
I do. I've already found it. It's on South Chicago. It's about a 20,000 square foot building that a church owns right now.
Oh, wow.
They have a basketball court in there right now, but it's just this open space with a kitchen and all kinds of different spaces and rooms. It's pretty dilapidated. They only use it one day a week.
Wow.
And they're just looking to kind of let it go for a very nominal amount, about $100,000.
Okay.
So with equipment and with the renovation of the space, because it is pretty, worn down. It's brand new roof, though. Thank God.
Wow.
That'll take about an additional $100,000.
Okay. And so, will you have two locations? So you will keep your current Bronzeville location.
Yes.
And then you will have this. Now, we talk about South Shore, and we know that for those that don't know, it's a dry area, right? In the fact that it's a desert, there's no grocery stores over there. And so how will you be able to recruit? I know your business started in South Shore, but how will your outreach, what would your outreach look like on that side of town, given the fact that they just don't have those access to grocery stores and things like that are available in Bronzeville community?
Oh yeah, because the building is so large, there's so much room for other things other than fitness floors and locker rooms, right? So I really want to start a healthy cafe that also utilizes the space within the parking lot that's like a garden. So organic produce, classes based on agriculture, how can you start to grow your own urban garden, and then utilizing those same items in the cafe, doing recipe demonstrations for how to do this on your own. Because I mean, let's tell the truth, but all the grocery stores are in it to prolong the life of any type of fruit, vegetable, meat. And so even those products are kind of dipped in chlorine and that sort of thing, no matter what store you kind of go to. So realistically, knowing, I think that that's the way that the world will eventually move, especially with all these documentaries out there and people going vegan like myself recently and that sort of thing. Knowing where it starts and how to do it in the kitchen and where it ends. Yourself. And then of course we always have the conveniences of buying it elsewhere. But I want to do those things within that facility. We're a lifestyle center as is. We're a teaching facility as is. We currently stay in. So this would just be a further, display of what we currently do, which is teach you how to do everything to change your lifestyle in the service of getting healthy and fit.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm just visualizing that right now. And I think the other part that we have to talk about too that I think is so important is teaching, right? Because in those communities, people don't know what to do. So it's important that we teach them. And so how, when I think about this capital, we know you want to get a new facility. What about women? So, the biggest thing that we want to talk about is creating this ecosystem where women entrepreneurs can be able to support one another so that when things arise and we're like, I can't find this or I don't know how to get this, that you have a community of women that you can buy from. Because what we do or don't know is that Chicago is one of the top urban cities of African American female population. And so that means that that's a huge opportunity, especially for your business. And so how I always say is we got to pay it forward, right? We get the money, so now how do we ensure that this message goes on to our young entrepreneurs and young budding I call them entrepreneurs, but they're entrepreneurs too, because they're moving around and navigating various ways. So how, would this money allow for you to continue the work that you do outside of 360, but be able to employ others? Because that's the other part of it.
Absolutely. I mean, from front desk to maintenance to, engineering to AV. I mean, these are all the different sort of positions that that also encompass, our instructor staff and our, juice bar sort of attendants and contractors that work to teach. So, currently I have about, I think 7 high school and college students on staff that work our front desk. I have some other students that also do some cleaning. I have interns right now that shadow instructors as well as the front desk staff and our management team to understand how to run a business and what that looks like on a day-to-day business, day-to-day basis for a small business such as ourselves. And Black-owned. I mean, I got so much esteem working for Johnson Publishing for the couple years that I did. Being a Black-owned business on Michigan. In such a big building and such an iconic. That gave me something. It gave me, and really what it gave me was a lot of courage. I saw it. And so that's really important to me. It's important to show my daughter that, that it's possible. Because, I grew up with parents that, God bless them, pretty much worked for corporate most of their lives. My dad moved into entrepreneurship later on, which gave me, some courage. But to see it on that level is a game changer.
It is a game changer. And I think when we can walk in our neighborhoods and see these examples in our neighborhoods, it just gives our children hope and the courage to say, I too can be Ashanti. And so that is so important in our neighborhoods. And again, I can't say this enough, is that big business is being made, south and north of, the city. And so we have to make sure that we get people to understand that, because you know, we were just talking about how many people say, you know, it's really violent in Chicago, you know, and so really
that's all they think.
That's all they think about.
So much more going on in this city.
It's so much more.
It outweighs all of that.
It does.
Realistically.
It does. It really does. And so let's talk about legacy.
Yes.
Because for many of us, you know, when mama dies, the business dies, right? And so, or daddy dies, and you know, and so a lot of our businesses don't have legacy, so that there allows for that child to take over, or some other young sharp sister you've taken under your belt, and it's like, hey, I want you to take over. So talk about legacy that you've thought about, because you do have a daughter.
Yes, I've thought about this probably within the past 3 years more than I ever because I have friends that have actually been legacy businesses that did not intend to go into that industry. They had dreams and aspirations of their own. So I hear those stories, but then of course I want my daughter to take on the business. But then I think about, I didn't name the fitness facility Ashanti's Fitness Studio for a reason. I wanted it to outlive me, for number one, but then also carry on its own sort of culture that can be moved forward. So I'm a little torn in that way. I, of course, always talk to, her name is actually Ashanti, my daughter.
That's cute. So Ashanti number one and Ashanti
Ep1 and 2. So I talk to her all the time about it. Like, so, you know, come and work out, come and do this routine with me. You should learn that she's 5. So,
nice.
You know, so we talk about that all the time. But at the end of the day, I want her to be happy and as fulfilled as I am with my work. And unfortunately, my family, you know, kind of wanted to push me into a certain area, and I ended up breaking out and doing my own thing, moving to Chicago, changing my life. And so I want her to know that she has those freedoms to liberate her to do those things. But I know that it is my responsibility to make sure that the business continues even when I'm not there. And so I've started to develop management teams and teams that are able to run the business when I'm not there. And my job, my goal is to continue on with that into the spread of into other states even, you know, so that I can continue to grow the business with or without me. And if Ashanti wants to take on this role of visionary like I am, because I don't even run the business really anymore, I inject the programming and do curriculum and navigate and steer, but there's other people that make it happen, which is a beautiful thing and a journey that we all as entrepreneurs have to get to.
And teamwork makes the dream work.
Oh my gosh.
We cannot do this without that team.
No, we cannot.
And I always say that if we are operating a business of I, then that business can't ever grow because it's operating in one. So when we operate and we allow for both the community, our staff, you know, stakeholders, investors to all be committed to that. And so that actually sends a message for people to continue to invest. And so we're looking for ideally $200,000.
Yes.
But we can do it at $150,000 if we need to. With hopefully there could be another ingestion later that would allow for that $50,000. And so as we, you know, close out on this, I just want to say final words. Why would an investor say, I want to give you a check for $200,000? Whether that's an investor, that's an angel investor, or even if it's traditional lending and they're taking a risk, because the reality about investing is that you have to take a risk on something.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to. And so oftentimes for women, which is why I wanted to build this show, because when it comes to capital investing, we are under 3%. And so that's alarming.
Yes.
In 2017, when I'm hearing all these wonderful facts about women, but we're not getting these capital investments. And so what I want to make certain that we get out to everyone that's listening and viewing this is that what will that $150,000 do for you, and why should somebody invest into your business?
Yes, great question. So the $150,000 will expand our current exposure from just one small facility on the south side of Chicago to one huge, two huge, one small, and one huge facility, meaning that we're going to service more clientele. We're changing lives. The hardest thing and the easiest thing is to change your body.
Wow.
Because it requires mastery of yourself. It's easy to try to control somebody else, unfortunately. But to try to change your own behaviors for the service of you is a whole different mindset. It's a shift that has to happen. There's a nurturing of self-love that has to occur for you to get all the way to your goal. Not just lose a couple pounds and then quit again, but for you to get all the way there. And I see it every single day. And so if you can change your body, it's the easiest thing to do, right? Because we all know what to do. You just got to do it. But that's up here. So we do with this thing called mental fitness, and I work with psychologists to do all these curriculums and that sort of thing. But once it happens, and you know what it takes, and you've done it for yourself, you can go out and do anything. Everything else is easy.
Wow.
Because you've mastered you.
Yeah.
And it's not just discipline and willpower. It's like something that is in you. You can't, once you know it, you can't undo that.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Or it's really tough to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it just hit. I mean, like for a moment, it was very emotional when you think of that, because to your point, everybody can go change their body, but that mind is challenging.
So we have about 400 members right now. We kind of toggle between 300, 400 depending on the season.
Sure.
If we get this second facility, we can not only double that, but we can triple that.
That's what I want to hear.
And so we want, I mean, not only on a financial level is it going to be lucrative for the investor, but it's the number of people. When we talk about changing a community, I mean, think of all those lives that are just going to touch somebody else. You know, one of my coaches, Misha, shout out to Misha, always says, somebody's waiting. There's people waiting on you to get your blessing so that they can see you and change their lives.
That's awesome. Wow. So, Ashanti, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
Thank you.
No.
I feel like I've been chosen to do something great. The work you're doing is great.
And I want to say that I support your business. I believe in your business. I do believe that you really are doing a ministry in what you've been able to do with some amazing women and the transformation that I've seen on my own. So we want to continue to support Ashanti Johnson of 360 Mind, Body, and Soul.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.